Hmm. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's RoyceFThomason here for another Facebook and YouTube Live with another Wednesday Hope and Healing Hour. So our focus today is dealing with getting to the root of the chaos to restore community. Getting to the root of the chaos to restore community. I'm just going to allow a couple minutes for some people to come in. We're doing this every week on both Facebook and on both Facebook and on YouTube, broadcasting live. One day I'll probably start doing this on Instagram live too. I'll have to use multiple devices to be on Instagram live as well. I see that somebody has shown up. I'm not sure who that is just yet, but I certainly welcome you here. Happy Wednesday to you. As we're coming back for another Wednesday Hope and Healing Hour, focusing on getting to the root of chaos to restore a community. Jennifer, my sister from another mister, how are you doing today? There was a way that I had this showing up a little bit differently. I'm still, to be quite honest with you, figuring out some of this stuff with StreamYard. Some things that I've done in the past, for whatever reason, I'm having difficulty doing again. I don't know exactly why that is, but for some reason, yeah, I wanted to be able to blow your comment up bigger, but I don't really recall how I changed the size of the comments. I tried to scoot a little bit further back from the computer, and I'm using a mic now, so you should still be able to hear me just as well. So it was the larger, when the comments were showing up on the screen larger, it was actually coming up to like right here. So it was actually blocking part of my mouth. And so I don't know how to get it. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I found it. There we go. All righty. Yeah. I kind of like that a little bit better, just because you can see the comments better. And I can't scoot too much further back. But if I'm scooted a little bit further back, it's not an issue with it covering my mouth or anything. Okay. Yes, happy Wednesday to you too. Oh, you're going to ask for a tutorial for how to use StreamYard. I'm glad that you're that you can hear me very well also. Okay, wonderful. And I'm curious who the couple other people are who are here joining us today before we really kind of get into the meat of things. Looks like we lost somebody already. Oh, well, it happens sometimes. Anyway, we're here doing this every week. For whoever shows up, that's who's meant to receive it. Whoever's aligned with it and whoever's resonating with whatever it is that's being shared on that particular day, whether it's a particular message, a theme, or whether it's just healing that we're sending out. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing it. I really appreciate that, because we want to definitely be able to reach people. That's what our goal is to be able to be vessels of love and light on this planet. We want to be able to add to the love that's flowing on the planet, to contribute to peace on the planet and a sense of overall well-being, not only for ourselves, but for the planet as a whole. Not only ourselves individually, but for the planet as a whole, for everyone. We all share some certain commonalities. We're all inhaling and exhaling the breath of God, whether we realize it or not. We all carry the sacred spark of divinity within us, whether we're consciously aware of that or not. And so it really behooves us to be able to, particularly those of us who profess that we are of love and that we are of light. It's really important that we recognize that even though there may be people who might test our patience or test our commitment to us expressing the light of divinity that exists within us, the fact of the matter remains is that every single one of us is an expression of beauty, of uh, an expression of God in one way or another. Some of us try to resist that. Some of us have maybe fallen asleep to the truth of who we are or who they are. And if someone is not aware of who they are, it makes it awfully difficult for them to be aware of the beauty that's in you. It makes it much more difficult. So that actually gives us an opportunity to be able to stand more firmly, to be more steadfast in our recognition of the indwelling presence of God within us, and allow us to focus more specifically and be more intent and more intentional about seeing through the eyes of grace, seeing through the eyes of love, seeing through pure eyes, and maintaining a sense of purity in our hearts. It doesn't mean we have to be punks. It doesn't mean that at all. But it is good for us to be able to clarify our vision, to purify our vision, to remove the plank in our eyes, so to speak, so that we might see clearly what's going on in other people, and that we might see them more accurately, rather than see them through the filters of our own illusions, whatever various ways those filters show up in our lives, based on our own past experiences, based on our own uh, prejudgments, based on our own uh, belief systems and other discriminatory stuff that we have going on inside of us, whatever that might be. So today's theme is really dealing with, and if there's somebody here who would like to receive some healing, please let us know. We certainly would be more than happy to offer some healing, whether it's healing for some physical condition, physical pain, some sort of physical dis-ease, or if there's just stress or worry or anxiety or something of that nature that you're dealing with. Please feel free, by all means, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'd be more than happy to offer some support where that's concerned. We're here to be expressions of hope, of healing, of love, of light. I believe that we're all called to be a blessing, that we're blessed to be a blessing to others, and allow our selves to be emptied out of all of the things that would hinder us from expressing the fullness and totality of the goodness of God made manifest through us, and then allowing ourselves to be filled to the point of running over, so that those blessings might spill over on everyone that we come in contact with. That's what I believe. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So again, our focus today is on getting to the root of the chaos to restore community, to restore genuine, authentic community, to restore a genuine sense of common unity. Sometimes when we think of even of the word community, and really community is really all about common unity, finding the areas where we have something in common, where we have a common interest, and then dwelling in a sense of unity within that contextual framework. So I definitely want to encourage us to be aware that it isn't just my community and your community, or this community and that community. Community I'm speaking of in this context right now is a more harmonious and unified global community, a planetary community where we are able to dwell as one, to really live as one, and to express that sense of oneness amongst us all, to express a sense of genuine um, regard for one another as human beings, and for that matter, other expressions of life on the planet. So last night, for whatever reason, or yesterday, I guess it was yesterday evening, for some reason, I ended up being drawn to some videos, and some videos led to some other videos. They weren't really particularly long videos, but I ended up seeing some of these different nature videos. And these nature videos, one of the nature videos included a uh, a few different lion cubs meeting their father for the first time. And so there were other videos that, as I continued to watch, they were dealing with other nature things. And then there were videos that actually got into, there were several videos that dealt with, a lot of them dealing with lions and other big cats, um, and feeding practices. Uh, so there was this interesting dynamic that I was observing that was going on between the predator and the prey, between the predator and the prey. Um, and that was really interesting to actually watch some of these videos. And not that that was the first time I had seen videos like this. Um, but for whatever reason, I was drawn to view it from a different perspective than I had in previous experiences. And so, as I was watching these videos, there were videos um, where leopards were hunting crocodiles or alligators. There were videos where where wild dogs were hunting zebra, and where lions were hunting and killing zebra, and they were showing different animals who, like me, are actually vegetarians. They're not predators. They um, have animals that like to eat them if they can. Although an alligator and crocodiles, those are predators for sure. Um, and yet they can be prey as well. Yeah, even the lion can be prey and be eaten by other animals, though it's considered the king of the jungle. I want to sit with that for a minute. The king of the jungle. And so it was interesting seeing these things unfold in the jungle, whether it was wildebeest, gazelle, um, um, uh, bison, zebras, whatever the animal that was being hunted. There was a tactic that I would notice that the predator would tend to use. Hey, Dulcie, good to see you. Aloha. Aloha to you. There was a tactic that the predators tended to utilize to kill its target. Okay, to destroy its target. One of the things that it would do was to insert a sense of chaos. If there were a lot of these animals together that they were wanting to prey upon, what they would do is they would insert a sense of chaos amongst them. And a big part of that creating a sense of chaos was to also create isolation, to separate one or some from the rest of the pack, so it'd be easier for them to hunt and kill them. Okay, and so they would maybe, charge at them and get them to kind of disperse, get them running, and then get them running. Try to get, if particularly if a baby or one of the elderly, one who was not as strong, one who was weaker, they would particularly try to isolate them because they'd be an easier target. They'd be an easier kill. Okay, and so they would try to isolate them, and the better they could get them isolated, the better chance they had of killing them. They would also do a thing where if they could get multiple lions, for instance, hunt in prides. They're actually a social cat. Really, one of the only true social cats is lions. They will hunt in prides, and they engage in teamwork in terms of a kill, whether that's a smaller animal, or a zebra, or even if it's a very large animal like a giraffe, or a hippopotamus, or an elephant. At any rate, what will happen is they'll try to isolate them. They'll find one that they believe is weaker, that will be easier to kill. There was a situation where on one of these videos, there was a lion that had, I don't remember if it was a buffalo or a bison. Don't know if there's a difference, quite honestly. Or a wildebeest is what I meant. I think it was a buffalo. And the lion, this one female lion had, I think it was a buffalo, on the ground. It had it by its neck. The way that the teeth in a lion are designed is that they actually can feel, there are actually nerves inside the teeth of the lion. So, if there's movement, it will kind of chomp back down to keep you from being able to get away. And also the way that the teeth are angled, they're angled inwards, so it makes it harder for the prey to get away. In fact, teeth on a lot of predators are designed that way, so that it's harder for the predator to get away. And there were actually a group of the buffalo came around. They were all staying, interestingly, on one side of the lion. And really, we're just using the lion. No offense to Jennifer or anybody else who might be born under the sign of Leo. We're just kind of using this as, kind of an illustration for predatory behavior, if you will, which is really something I'm going to get into in a different way, on a little bit of a spin, in just a little bit. So at any rate, these different buffalo or bison, whichever they were, I noticed that they actually all stayed. Jennifer, you got a kick out of that, huh? I noticed that they actually all stayed on one side of the, actually, in this situation, the one who was down with its neck in the lion's mouth was between all of the other ones and the lion. They eventually kind of moved around and stuck together. And see, they have these horns, and they're very, very strong animals, and they can certainly be a threat to the lion as well, because those horns can actually pierce the flesh of the lion, and they're very, very strong, can throw the lion several feet up in the air. one single, buffalo can do that. At any rate, they were able to actually, in that situation, they were able to band together and send the lion off and running. Okay, there were several situations where I saw where these animals that were being hunted, um, got themselves into a situation. Hey, Annetta, good to see you again. They got themselves into a situation where it was very clear that they were banding together and that they were not going to allow one amongst their ranks to be eliminated, to be hunted, to be killed, to be taken away from the others, and to be preyed upon. Now, here's the situation in terms of what happens with human beings on planet Earth. We have a mindset that we are the apex predator, right? Because we can even kill the lion, not by hand, but we can create weapons that can do it. We could kill any living thing. And we've even been maybe inadvertently working to kill a much larger living being in the earth itself, which would be totally foolish. It's like a cancer cell. A cancer cell is like a rogue cell that tries to get other cells to fight against the host, to destroy the host. But the thing about it is that it needs that host in order to live. If the host is gone, then it can no longer live either. Some of us sometimes take on this parasitic mindset where we seek to take from our host and not give anything back to it in return. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but if you feel a little ouch, that may just mean there's a need to take a look inside and do some self-reflection and some self-examination. And that by no means is targeted at anybody in particular. But here's the reality. We as human beings, we have some of the same things that exist within the minds of those that are in the animal kingdom. Okay. Within our biological makeup, within our wiring, we have the same wiring as all other mammals. Okay, whether that's a lion or whether that's a mouse, we have some of that same biological wiring that all other mammals have. We also have some of the same wiring that even reptiles have. Okay, so in terms of how a reptile operates, a reptile has a very primitive brain. Okay, this isn't a judgment on reptiles. This is just reptiles existed before mammals did. Reptiles have a very primitive, and you can even say, if you want, primal brain. Okay, their focus is really very much on survival. Okay, the focus of a reptile's brain is very largely focused on survival, not necessarily a whole lot beyond that. It'll focus on its own survival and certainly to an extent the survival of the species. But definitely the primary focus of a reptile's brain function, if you will, is on survival. All right, we have that in us too, and so do mammals. Mammals have that instinct to want to survive, even in businesses. I learned as a business major in college that the number one function of all businesses is to continue. um, I have a different vibe on that. To me, I think the number one aim of all businesses should be to serve in some capacity, to add value. Um, that's my take on it. But at any rate, mammals, their brains are set up a little bit differently. Mammals definitely have a component where they are seeking to survive, where survival is very important to them. But mammals also have another component to their brain that actually allows them to be able to experience bonding, and a sense of affection. Okay. That's not something that exists in the hard wiring of the brains of reptiles, but it does exist within the wiring of mammals. Okay. Now, human beings, we have that reptilian brain, that, in fact, a part of the brain called the amygdala, that when we're feeling frightened or afraid, that puts us into a state of where it causes a lot of uh, hormones, that gets the adrenals flowing and everything. Part of the brain called the amygdala that puts us in that state where we're ready to either fight or we're ready to run, okay, in order to maintain a sense of survival. But then we also have that that aspect of us that allows us to be able to bond like the other mammals do, that causes a mother to want to bond with her child, that causes people to engage in friendships and enjoy a sense of community. Okay. And beyond that, there's an aspect of us that that is a little unique to, I'm gonna say primates in this context, but I'm gonna call it the human brain in the context of our dialogue today. And that actually allows us to be able to see things from a higher perspective, see things from a broader view in terms of a bigger picture, allows us to be able to have higher reasoning functions and capabilities. Now, unfortunately, a lot of times we get stuck in the mammalian and the reptilian brain. In fact, some people who we see stuck in a fear-based consciousness, we even sometimes in some circles, some people of consciousness refer to them as reptiles or as reptilians. That's based on that idea that their focus is really almost solely based in survival, and the idea that to some extent, if I live, that means you have to die, or I can only live if you die, or I can only be successful if you fail. I can only thrive if you don't. I can only be wealthy if you're remaining in poverty. I can only be powerful if you're disempowered. It's a very limited perspective, a very much 3D matrix of beliefs of separation and limitation perspective. Okay. And to a very large extent, that is the law of the jungle. That is the law of the wild. That particularly as I was watching these different videos, and I watched several of them for quite a while, at least an hour, maybe two. And a common thing that I saw present was that there was an idea that for some, suffering meant another's ability to continue to live. If no other animal died, the predators wouldn't be able to eat. If a predator ate, that meant, another animal was going to have to die. That is how it is in the jungle. But we were given higher faculties. We were blessed and endowed with higher faculties. What happens, however, is that we actually use our higher reasoning as servants to the jungle, the laws of the jungle. We dwell in that limited belief system and in that fight or flight, in that that survival mentality, and then we use our higher reasoning in servitude to that more base, more primitive perspective. All right. And so it's like somebody who, it's like putting a 6-year-old behind a very powerful vehicle. Okay. There's a lot that vehicle can do, but that little child is not prepared to the mindset that they have, and even the physical strength that they have. They really don't have any business operating that level of machinery. It would be dangerous to them and be dangerous to others. We've been blessed with higher reasoning functionality and capabilities, but it's good that we actually tap into a greater degree of that heart space, okay, a greater degree of that bigger picture of being able to see how everything is fitting into a bigger picture and be able to see the fact that we're really all one at the end of the day, okay? Unlike in the jungle, one person does not have to fail for another person to be successful, okay? One race doesn't have to be able to be living large, doesn't have to be in a state of plight and despair for another race to be, doing very well. And the reality is that even the idea of race is an illusion created in the mind of human beings in the first place. The reality is that there's one race called humanity. We might just look a little bit different. We might have various cultures and such. And so we end up having all these different ways that we separate one another, that we feed into this idea of for me to succeed means you have to fail. For me to be right means you have to be wrong. For things to go my way, that means that they can't go your way, and vice versa. We get really caught up in that mindset a lot. We really get caught up in that mindset a lot because we're in that more of that primitive brain, that primitive thinking, that primitive mindset where we're focused really solely on survival, and we somehow miss the idea that we can survive while other people survive too. And beyond that, we as human beings, we didn't come here to survive. We came here to actually thrive. Okay, that's a totally different mentality. So if we're thriving, we're not dwelling in a state of needing to tear other people down in order to be able to thrive. Okay, we don't need to be doing all of the various and sundry things that we do in our various societies in the world to tear other people down, to make other people a monster, in order for us to have our way, for us to impose our will for things to go the way that we would like for them to go. And so the reality is that we see people that we get pissed off at, okay, groups of people that we get highly upset with. And yes, I use the word pissed off on purpose because that's how people feel it. We're in a time right now in human history on planet Earth where there has been so much that has been broadcast out into the atmosphere to give us the idea that somebody else is wrong, that somebody else is not only wrong, but really wrong, and not only really wrong, that somebody else is actually a threat, that somebody else is actually a threat to us, beloved. But the reality is, it's not that other person. And I know that this isn't necessarily easy to accept. If you're a Democrat, it's not the Republicans that are the problem. If you're a Republican, it's not the Democrats that are the problem. Okay. If you're liberal, it's not the conservatives that are the problem. If you're conservative, it's not the liberals that are the problem. In Israel, if you're Muslim, it's not the Jews that are the problem. If you're Jewish, it's not the Muslims that are the problem. If you're in Ireland, if you're Catholic, it's not the Protestants that are the problem. If you're Protestant, it's not the Catholics that are the problem. If you're a more fundamentalist Christian, it's not these New Age folks that are the problem. If you're a metaphysically minded person, it's not the fundamentalist religious person that's the problem. Okay. And I could go on and on and on and on and on, because there's so many different ways that we see ourselves as different from one another, which is quite all right. We're blessed to have differences amongst one another. Okay, life would be pretty boring if we were all exactly the same. If we all had all the exact same interests. If we all looked the exact same. If we all did everything the exact same way, there wouldn't be so much opportunity for growth and for expansion that way. We can learn from one another based on our differences. We can celebrate our similarities as well as celebrate the areas where we're different. We can actually open up our heart space when we come in contact with those who think and feel differently than we do. It actually can help to broaden our perspective, help us to see things from a more panoramic view. Okay. The reality is that the other person, the other group isn't the problem. It never is. It never is, although it really seems like that sometimes. The problem is the situation that's going on. And what happens is that we as people, whether we're in individual relationships where we're talking about groups in opposition to one another or nations at war, what it is that we have a tendency to do based on our commitment to our limited belief system, our limited thinking, our commitment to our needing to be in a flight or flight mentality, our commitment to needing to be right and other people being wrong, we end up developing this false sense that something other than what the actual problem is a problem. Another person isn't the problem. Another group isn't the problem. It's the situation that's the problem. The problems that we experience on earth right now amongst human beings is that we buy into all of this fear-based thinking. We feel afraid. Sometimes that fear is disguised as violence and anger and hatred and resentment and dissension. Sometimes it's manifested in people going out doing all types of crazy things. But the person isn't the problem, love. The situations are the problems, and people get caught up in the situations and assign all types of meaning to these situations. The reality is that there are other forces at work. You know, the Bible puts it in the context that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, against forces of wickedness in high places. It says in another place that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God, to the tearing down of strongholds. Those strongholds, those forces of wickedness in high places are all inside of us. They're not us, but they're inside of us. Inside of our limited thinking, based on experiences that we had and based on what we allow ourselves to be influenced by, that dwells outside of us. Okay. And yes, there are beings that exist in other dimensions that can influence us, that we may have no awareness of their presence. That some that have malevolent intentions, bad intentions, and some that have very good intentions towards us. But the reality is that we can band together. Whether a person is operating from the mindset of being a predator or not, we are all, as human beings, we're all the ones who are seen as prey. We're all being targeted to be separated from one another, to be isolated from one another. Even if we're being isolated in different groups, the tactic is to divide and conquer. All right. And that's a tactic that's being imposed on humanity. If we as human beings can find ways of banding together in union, even with those who think, feel, look, believe, worship, love in different ways than we do, that's okay. There are still so many more things that we have in common than those things that we have that are different from one another. And different doesn't have to mean deficient. Different is just different. Okay? Different is just different. The reality is that we are all beings of love and light. Some of us are aware of it. Some of us are not so aware of it. Some of us think that we're aware of it, and we wear it as a badge of honor to condemn those who may have forgotten it. And it may be that the ones who are living as if they've forgotten it are really the ones who are more evolved, and they're just wearing a disguise to help reveal our own hypocrisy to us. Not trying to step on toes, but if you felt anything on your foot, just might be a time to do some self-reflection, some self-examination, to check our own hearts, to look more deeply within. So yesterday, I believe that I was led to watch those videos only after I had done this one particular exercise. This was a particular exercise that I did on my own. And after that, I ended up watching those videos with animals in the jungle. And I believe all of that was part of a setup that God was kind of leading me to, in terms of bringing to our attention and as a focal point for our conversation today, in terms of getting to the root of the chaos to restore community, okay, to restore a sense of common unity. What is the root of this chaos? The root of this chaos is limited perspectives that exist within us. They exist within each and every one of us, that allows us to see our brother and or our sister as something other than expressions of love and light, as something other than children of God, as something other than another expression of our own selves. How many of us would just randomly take our right hand and start beating our left foot with it? You know, that would be kind of foolish, right? How many of us would take a bat and just start banging our knees with it? You know, that wouldn't make much sense. Okay. Has your mouth ever gotten upset with your arm and just started biting it and trying to tear the flesh off of your arm? I know that's disgusting. But that would be ridiculous, right? Because your mouth and your arm, your hand and your foot, you know, and your knee, they're all part of the same body. Well, guess what? you and I and the people who think very differently than you do or that I do and believe and love and act very differently, we're all, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, we're all part of the same body. So I did this exercise yesterday. It was just something that I really felt God leading me to do in that moment. It wasn't anything that I had planned to do. I just felt guided and directed to do that in that moment. I had no idea that I would be doing this. There was somebody who I believe to be someone who can, who has a tendency of being a vessel through which chaos is made manifest. I'll put it that way. They aren't the chaos, but chaos is made manifest through them in a way that impacts other people. I'm not going to say who the person's name is. It isn't even somebody who's extremely well known, although I did go back and later do a similar exercise with somebody else who's more well known. But this particular person uh, going through a lot of things that manifest or that ends up resulting in them uh, doing things and having behaviors that actually negatively impact other people. So it seems, at least. And I end up being led to do an exercise where I really was called to connect with a deep part of myself, deep space within my own heart. And in that space in my heart, connect with them, who the soul that they are, and able to see the darkness that they were faced with. They weren't the darkness. No person is the darkness. A person may be experiencing darkness. A person may be struggling with some form of darkness manifested in one or another way. Um, but I began to see them, I began to work to see them through the eyes of purity and see them through the eyes of grace. And I told them that I loved them and I did my best to create a safe space. The person wasn't consciously aware of this. This was something I did on my own. The person isn't even in the same city where I am. Very far from it, in fact. Um, and so I began to actually speak to this person. I was really doing my best to help them feel safe. I was realizing that I wasn't just dealing with the person at the current age that they are right now, but I was dealing with uh, parts of their wounded inner child um, that felt afraid, that felt a need to self medicate in whatever way they're self medicating to protect themselves from their pain. Um, and that manifested sometimes as them behaving in ways that impact others and cause pain to others. And the space ended up disappearing between us. And it really did become the case eventually where I was able to really apologize for all they have been through. Did I directly contribute to that? No, I didn't even know them all their life. Um, but I took responsibility for it from the standpoint of a representative of humanity, um, not in a codependent way, but just acknowledging their well-being and um, really affirming the light in them. Okay, and I began to see that that darkness that had encompassed them release its stronghold. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. It's not other people that's the problem. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We don't need to be going at folks. It's never the person that's the problem. The weapons of our warfare are mighty in God to the tearing down of strongholds. What strongholds might be hindering other people? What strongholds might there be that are hindering us, that are causing us to see our brother or our sister in a way that does not reflect us as love and light? Yeah. Any issue we see in another person, we can't see it unless we have the consciousness of that particular thing that we're seeing. Okay. One with pure eyes. One with pure eyes and a pure heart finds a way to see the good. Finds a way to see the good in someone else so clearly and so fully that they can't help but to see it themselves. That's powerful. It doesn't make you powerful to be able to have a gun that allows you to shoot down a whole bunch of people at one time. There's no power in that. But it is incredibly powerful to be able to stand in the fullness of your humanity and to be able to look at someone and face someone who appears to be at the very counterpoint of that, who appears to be very detached from their sense of humanity, and yet to be able to affirm wholeheartedly the beauty and the good and the purity and the love and the light that exists within them, to the point that that darkness can't exist anymore. Again, there is no need to curse the darkness. All problems that we experience are a function of us not being able to recognize the light. We don't need to fight against the darkness. We don't need to curse the darkness. We don't need to rant and rave about the darkness. All that we need to do is turn on the light, and in the presence of the light, the darkness automatically disappears. The light automatically causes the darkness to dissipate, because darkness in itself isn't actually a thing. Darkness itself does not actually exist. Darkness is only the absence of what is real. Darkness is only the absence of the light. Hey, Rhonda, it's good to see you, my sister. I got to give you and Aisha Mali a call. I was thinking about you two as recently as last night, and I really have to give you all a call. It's been a long time since I've talked with you all, but you've been in my mind. You've been on my mind and in my heart, and I'm definitely going to have to reach out to you very, very soon. We as human beings, we as souls, we as expressions of light, wearing a human body, dwelling in a third dimensional experience of this world that we're currently flowing through. The reality is that we have descended into the presence of darkness to reveal the presence of the light. We've descended into the presence of the darkness to reveal the consciousness of the light. Yeah, I miss you guys too. And so I'm sending this out to all people who consider themselves light workers, all people who consider themselves children of God, all people who consider themselves expressions of love, all people who consider themselves healers, all people who consider themselves star seeds. Every single one of us, I'm challenging us to really face the darkness that exists within us, that allows us to be able to see ourselves and each other in an ill light, and to really be able to tap into a deeper sense of truth within our own being, to be able to tap into that light within us more fully and more intentionally, in order that we can see the light in others, particularly those who we see as dwelling in darkness, more fully. Because in that we really get to what it is to establish a sense of genuine community. We get to the root cause of the chaos by not allowing ourselves to be manifestations of the chaos. It's so tempting to see people who are spewing hatred and to start hating the haters. But when we do that, we just become those who we would condemn. We become those who we judge. Oh, goodness gracious. I get that it is so tempting to do that. It is very tempting to do that. But it's not the only option that's available to us. We do have the option. We do have the option to go another route. We do have an option to dwell with, to focus deeper within ourselves to see what darkness is actually existing within us that is allowing our brother or sister who we are wanting to condemn possibly as something other than love and light. It's something other than an expression of God made manifest in the world. Okay, it's easy for us to develop this sense of righteous indignation. It's easy for us to develop this sense of self-righteousness that allows us to see ourselves as better than somebody else. It's easy for us to yield to the temptation of seeing the problem as being this other person, being this other group, whoever that other person might be, or whatever that other group might be. It's real easy to do that. We're in a time right now where there is a lot going on, where there seems to be a lot of dissension. Most of us, even tuned in to this broadcast right now, feel a certain degree of that, or it's going on to a certain degree inside of us, whether we're allowing ourselves to be present to it or not. I want us to challenge ourselves to go more deeply, to be able to see what we have in common with one another, including those who we might despise or that we might feel may despise us, and to see a greater degree of light in them. Okay? To see a greater degree of light in them. They may just be doing this as a way of getting our attention, to reveal our own hypocrisy to ourselves, to reveal some darkness that might be existing within us. Because if there's not a darkness within us, how can we see it in somebody else? Most of the things that serve as triggers in us are areas that we just have not come to a place of acceptance of, and that we're resisting frequently, very deeply subconscious aspects of ourselves. And when we can begin to see that we're all in this together, begin to see the person with whom you are diametrically opposed working together in a sense of humanity, common unity, working against a common enemy. What is the common enemy? The common enemy is the illusion that we're separate from one another, the illusion that we need to be fighting and at odds and at war with one another. How do we fight that common enemy? We fight that common enemy by doing our own internal work. That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm encouraging each and every one of us to take on. And I believe we can do it. I believe that we can do it. I believe that we came here at this time because we were willing to take on the challenge. We're willing to take on the challenge of engaging in this beautiful, chaotic opportunity of being able to really be adventurous in our spiritual journey as souls. I believe that every single one of us, decided to take this on one level or another, that we wouldn't have actually been allowed to be on this planet at this time if we had not signed up for that. Like I said earlier, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I do want to make it, I know that we've already been in an hour, but I do want to make it available for if anybody is experiencing any physical pain, any physical dis-ease of any sort. I definitely want to make that available. If anybody is experiencing any, any mental or emotional heartache or stress or anxiety or depression or worry or anything of that nature, please, put it in the chat. Let us know. I'm definitely more than happy to offer some support. We've done that several different weeks. We've done that just live. Um, on some occasions, we've actually even brought folks in and worked live in the video. I had them on the video. And other occasions, we've just had people who've been responding in the chat. And not only that, it's something I love to do. I got a message from Dulcie. Dulcie, are you still here, by the way? Got a message from Dulcie. Actually, I think I got it this morning. Dulcie's in Hawaii, so we're on very different time zones, 5 hours apart, I believe it is, in terms of time zones. So I think it was yesterday that you may have sent the message, and I think I received it this morning, if I recall correctly, about some wonderful work that she's doing, utilizing this particular methodology that I get to utilize and even share with people, that we call transcending the matrix. They're miracle. Hey, okay, good. You're here, Dulcie. Fantastic. So Dulcie's been experiencing some really wonderful and miraculous things, utilizing this methodology. It's something that exists within each and every one of us. That capability is within each and every single one of us. Jennifer says the training is amazing. She and Dulcie were both in Transcending the Matrix training last month. Both just beautiful souls, working out their process in their own way, and having favorable impact on other people's lives. Yeah, part of the TTM family. Yes, that's true. The reality is that miracle working power exists within each and every single one of us. The reality is that there's some pretty cool things that have been made manifest as a result of work that I've done. I acknowledge that the Transcending the Matrix work is very powerful, very simple actually, but also incredibly powerful. But it's not just limited to me. It's not just limited to Jennifer. Not just limited to Dulcie. Anybody who's got a somewhat open mind and an open heart can access be able to do these wonderful things. Seeing people who've been in pain for years and years, going through all kinds of different therapies to try to get relief from challenges, getting relief very, 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 very quickly. And that's cool. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But the reality is that isn't really even the miracle. Those things are maybe signs and wonders. What the real miracle is the changed heart. And every person who's doing this work, really the work that we're doing is never on somebody else. Yeah, a person may have had this debilitating, life-threatening disease and may be free of it. The reality is every time that we're working with somebody, the work isn't just for them. We're working on ourselves at the same time, because we're in the process, we're purifying our own heart. In the process, we're clarifying our own vision of reality. In the process, we're moving out of the way in recognition that there is a higher force at work than we ourselves, that we are not alone. And we're getting confirmation after confirmation of that every time we're working with this methodology. We're seeing and we're demonstrating over and over again that God really is a healer, that we aren't alone, that there are others dwelling in the invisible realms that are supporting us, that are helping us, and that when we leave these physical bodies. That's not the end of the road for us. We'll just go on to work in another capacity and at another level. If this type of training is something that you're interested in, feel free to send me a direct message at RoyceFThomason, whether on Facebook or on Instagram at RoyceFThomason. I don't have nearly as many messages on Instagram because I just created that account pretty recently. It's pretty inundated on Facebook, so I might not see it as quickly. The truth of the matter is it may take me a moment to see it. So if you don't hear back from me within a couple days or so, just send a message back. It may have just gotten kind of lost in the mix of all the other things that are showing up in my inboxes in the various social media that I'm on. I've got just shy of 95,000 emails right now. I'm continually deleting those, but they keep coming, they keep coming, they keep coming. So, but what we really want to do is we really want this work to be able to reach as many people as possible. We really want this planet to be a place where love and light are manifest as never before. We really want to see a sense of common unity made manifest throughout humanity. We really do want to see a place where we can feel happy to have our children continue to live when we're gone, and our grandchildren and their children's children for generations to come, that we will leave this earth in a better place than we found it. That's what our hope is. That's what our desire is. And the more people are utilizing this work, the more we can actually help contribute to that. I have a desire for there to be a healer in every home, for there to be somebody in every home that's demonstrating and manifesting the healing power of God, that is clarifying reality and seeing beyond the illusions of the third dimensional matrix of separation and limitation, who's seeing things in a greater degree of love and light and harmony and balance and oneness. That's what my hope is. That's what my desire is. Again, if you want to be a part of that, I'm going to be scheduling another training. It had been well over 6 years before we did this training last month. It was the first time ever did a training where nobody was even in the same state. And Texas is a pretty big place. We had folks in different places. No two people were even in the same state, in fact. We had people in various time zones, but we were all together. We were all together as one. I believe it was a great time for all of us, unless people were lying and able to be very convincing. I believe I can safely say that it was an absolutely phenomenal experience for every one of us that participated in that, including me. We would love to be able to continue to share this work. I take responsibility for the fact that I didn't share this for so many years based on just my own personal stuff. I may be the vessel through which this work came, but I'm still a human, still working out human stuff, and I was working out some human stuff. I take responsibility for that. I apologize for that, but I'm back, and it's time to really get this going again. I choose to make it available to anybody who really wants to be able to use this, whether you want to do it for your own personal benefit, for your own healing, whether you want to use it, to be able to help other people. We definitely want to support you in this. We're talking about a 3-day training. On the second day, you're doing what I do. Okay. In this training last month, on the second day, folk were freeing people up of stuff that had been challenging them for a long period of time, and they were doing it over the internet remotely. And sometimes it was a bad internet connection. But the reality is that there is, beyond the World Wide Web that connects us, especially in this era of COVID-19, we've always had an intricate tapestry that's connected us all together as one. Every single soul is connected as one, and we're all part of a bigger body. There was a web that connected us before humans created the World Wide Web. That technology is just a manifestation of a greater technology that exists in the realm of spirit, where we're all connected. Okay. At any rate, if nobody has any healing that you'd like to be able to receive, we'll go ahead and get ready to close this out for today. If you would, though, I see that Dulcie, Jennifer, Rhonda, Anetta. I don't know who's still here right now, but many blessings to all who've been here today. Anybody and everybody who comes in later and might view this. We're going live now, but anybody who might view this video later on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else. Dulcie, Royce is love a healing. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Dulcie. Can you kind of clarify that for me just a little bit? And I know that it's about a 15-20 second delay between what I'm saying and what you're hearing. Okay, Dulcie, you're raising your hand. What are you raising your hand for? Jackie Manley, greetings to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is this your first time, Jackie? I don't believe I've seen you before, but certainly wonderful to have you. Thank you, Rhonda. I received that. Love and light to you as well. Okay. Dulcie, I see you say keep reading. I don't see okay. I don't see any other comments just yet. Usually the idea is for this to go about an hour. We've been about an hour 13 minutes now, but if anybody has some okay, so all right, so I see Dulcie, you said you were diagnosed with a UTI yesterday. Okay. Do you feel comfortable sharing how that's manifesting itself, Dulcie? Well, thank you, Jackie, for sharing that, and thank you, Dulcie, for saying that. I don't know that I'm so wonderful. It's just the presence of God that I've somehow had the grace to be able to move out the way enough for it to be able to come through. I get in the way still a lot, but I'm thankful that I've been in some ways able to kind of get out of God's way. So if there's anything beautiful that you're seeing in me, I've got to just give the credit to God, because me as a human being, I have issues just like every other human being. But if there's anything good that you're seeing in me, that's just the areas where God is seeping through. Okay, so you say pressure in your bladder. waking every hour. I got mad at my ex, whom Jackie knows. Okay, so let me get a little clarification on this. Is the pressure on your bladder causing you to wake up to have to go to the restroom? And making it difficult to sleep at night because you keep having to go to the restroom. Oh, and Jackie is an amazing healer also. That's beautiful. Again, I know it's a little bit of a delay. It takes a moment from the time I say it for you to be able to hear it and then respond in the chat, because I'm broadcasting through this StreamYard. Okay, so yes, it is. Okay, so Dulcie, let me ask you. I don't want to put you on the spot again and ask you to come on screen at 8 something in the morning. Plus, I've got this mic plugged in. I don't know if you can see it. I've got this mic plugged in, so I backed up a little bit further from the computer so that the comments wouldn't cut my mouth off. But I've got the mic on so you can still hear me okay. Okay, so can you give me a sense on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no pressure right now and 10 being like very, very uncomfortable pressure, where you would rate that right now, Dulcie, on a 0 to 10 scale? Just want to get an idea, and we'll offer some support. Okay, so right now you say that that pressure feels at about a 6. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do a quick prayer. Would take a couple of minutes and offer a little bit of support. Okay. God, I know you to be a healer, and through the union we share through the power of your pure love, the God in me demonstrates you as a healer on the behalf of Dulcie Wright, neutralizing the root cause of all illusions I forgot what the T stands for in UTI, but urinary tract infection, and the sense of discomfort that she's been experiencing with respect to that. The pressure is causing her to have to get up every hour to use the restroom. Neutralizing that from the point of the root cause and the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA in every cell of her body, every string particle of her existence, and transmuting that into and replacing it with a sense of comfort and sense of overall well-being, and the joys of being able to have a good night's sleep every night. And I bear witness to her being able to do that. And I bear witness to her wholeness, beginning on this date and in this time and space called now. And I thank you, God, for this gift of your divine love. And I affirm it is done. It is done. It is done. Okay. All right. So Dulcie, let's take a look at this real quickly. I know you commented about your ex earlier, so let's look at your ex. And your ex really isn't the issue at all, actually. So let's look at the issue is you being literally pissed off at your ex. Okay. So we want to really offer you some support in that area, um, and really help to transmute. You know, I know it's said that it's better to be pissed off than to be pissed on, but it's even better to be neither. So let's replace that with a sense of forgiveness of yourself for standing in judgment of him for your perception of his behaviors and lack of behaviors. Um, Dwelling in a state of ease and grace and peace. Okay. Alrighty. And any sense of feeling emotionally violated. Okay. The violation wasn't something that he did, but was something that you allowed yourself to take on. And to forgive yourself for that and have compassion for yourself for allowing yourself to experience that, forgiving yourself and forgiving him. Okay. Particular emphasis in this particular case on forgiving him. Okay, now Dulcie, on a scale of 0 to 10 right now, where would you rate that pressure? You can just type that in the chat whenever you get an opportunity. Again, I know it's on a little bit of a delay, so I'm just going to kind of continue on even as you're beginning to type that. Okay, and I want to look at family lineage of women. Going back 6 generations and going forward 8 generations. Okay, and you're saying that the discomfort's at a 3 now. Okay. All right, we want to resolve that. And having done this for I forgot how many generations forward and back where we went, I'd make a point not to really hang on to it. But can you tell us where you are right now on that 0 to 10 scale? I know you said a 3 a moment ago. Okay, if you can, whenever you get an opportunity, if you can type that in the chat as well. You know what would really be fun sometime is would be to have one person actually to bring 2 people on, and you all can do this with one another rather than me simply do it. You all demonstrate your God-given abilities. That would be really cool. I think that would be fun to do that too. We haven't had anybody actually on in person in the last couple of weeks. I think when Annetta was on a couple of weeks ago was the last time we had somebody on in person, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know if you're still here, Annette, or not, by the way. So Dulcie, oh, wait a minute. Dulcie, you said that you were driving though, didn't you? I don't know if you're still driving or not. Maybe you're not driving anymore, but it seemed like you said at some point that you were driving. So I hope I'm not asking you to be typing while driving. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of traffic in Hawaii or not, but I don't want to encourage driving and texting while driving. Although I admit I've read while driving before. And I'm not talking about text, but like books. um, make it a point not to do that anymore, though. Dulcie, are you still out there, by the way? It's going to have a little sip of water. I don't see any, hopefully, well, I think we're still going live. I don't see any further comments. Hopefully they're able to come through okay. Dulcie, if you can let us know where the pressure is on a 0 to 10 right now. And I'd imagine that if you were able to, that you probably would have responded by now. Let me just check the And I'd imagine that if you were able to. Okay. All right, so still at a 3. Okay. All right, so let's see what else we can find here. All righty. All right, let's see. Look at any other kind of emotional stuff going on. Look at attachment to the negative emotions, respective to your ex. Okay, and like 8 different negative emotions. We want to just purify those through the power of God's love and transmute those into just peace of mind. And even beyond that, this might seem like a stretch, appreciation. And maybe even maybe tweaking the perspective from seeing him as your ex to seeing him as your partner in the unfolding of your awareness. Okay. Not just seeing him as this person who did some janky stuff, but as a soul who's partnered with you before even entering into this earth plane to assist in your unfoldment. An acceptance of that, embracing of that, and appreciation of that. Okay. I get though that we experience things in connection and then our interactions with other humans, and we end up feeling a certain way about those humans. I'm not acting like I am never guilty of this too, because I certainly fall subject to it at times too. But I have to hold myself accountable to the greater truth. And when I come to that awareness, I have to do that. So I want to encourage all of us to do that, in fact. Okay, so Dulcie, where would you say it is on a 0 to 10 scale right now? I don't know if you all can hear my chair, by the way. It's my chair is pretty talkative. It's I don't know if it's picking up on the mic or not. Dulcie now says she's crying. She loves him deeply. That's beautiful. Okay, and now at a 2. Okay, and let's look at wanting things to have been different. And releasing the hope that I heard one definition of forgiveness. I think I heard this from Spencer Murray. That forgiveness is releasing the hope that the past could have been different. Okay, let's give you some support in that area. Glad that you're feeling better, Dulcie. Okay. All right. It's getting better, but I'm still getting some weakness there, so I might need to break that down a little bit. Um, and I want to look at see triggers from past relationships. Yeah, so past relationships, romantic and otherwise. Four different other relationships. May have been romantic, may not have been romantic relationships that that particular relationship actually triggered for you. All right. Okay. That's looking a little better. So we're going to replace that trigger to triggering uh, love, love, compassion, acceptance for yourself and quote unquote others. Okay. All right, Dulcie, can you let us know where you're feeling right now on that scale of 0 to 10? Whenever you get an opportunity to have another little sip of water. We'll see how you know progress we can make with this. Okay, so Dulcie says now down to a 1. We started out at a 6. We're now down to a 1. Well, um, let's see if we can bring it down to a 0. So let's see what else might there be there. Okay, so tell you what I'm going to do. This this can maybe be a teaching moment too. I'm off right now. I'm going to take my attention completely off of Dulcie, and I'm going to look at myself right now and my own attachment to the outcome. That's not really so much of the issue. My concern about how others will see me if this doesn't work. So I'm going to address that within me and replace it with 100% complete full self acceptance, regardless of how it shows up or how it looks, whether it works or whether it doesn't work. Complete self acceptance. Okay. And Dulcie, where would any shift about the same or uh, a little bit different? What would you say? Set down to a 1 about 2 minutes ago. And I did a moment of, um, I actually worked just on me, about a point 0.5. Okay. So that one adjustment that I did on myself cut it in half down to about a point 0.5. Okay, let's see. Am I working on you or am I still working on me? Turns out I'm still working on me. Okay. Um, um, I'll look at self doubt existing within me and transmuted that into awe at the wonders of God and what God can do. Realizing I'm not really the one doing the work ultimately. I'm doing some work. The main work I'm doing is internal work anyway. The one through whom all the blessings flow is actually God, though. The one from whom all the miracles come is actually God. Really accepting that and lifting that up. All right. Where would you say it is right now on a scale of 0 to 10, Dulcie? Any shift as a result of what we just did just now? I know it's a little bit of a delay, so um, just deal with the delay. About a 0.25. Okay, so still just a little tinge of something. Um, okay. Um, okay, there's something that just came up. It came up not even in words. So okay. All right. What about right now? Did that do anything? At about a point, you know, far less than one. Um, in terms of level of pressure, discomfort. And if this is the best we can get it, this is the best that we can. It's just a twinge. Hmm, okay. Hmm. All right. Let's see. Um, let me just let's see. And you're very welcome, Dulcie. Let me just do something to kind of close it out real quick. Um, this won't make sense to people who haven't done the training. I'm just going to look at levels of the matrix grid lines, incidents, Akashic records, universes, dimensions, times, 6 different times, and we'll clear that. Judgments, unknowns, will transmute, purify, clear that through the light of the Holy Spirit, now, henceforth, and forevermore. So we want this to definitely be forevermore for all generations of time, past, present, and future. With absolute, complete, permanent healing with infinite and immediate correct perception, infinite and immediate correct perception of wholeness. Mm. Forgive and forget unconditionally. So thank you, God, so much for this healing that you've allowed to make itself manifest on today. Thank you for allowing us to participate in this and for the sense of relief that Dulcie is experiencing as a result. Thank you for all those who've been with us today. And thank you for your continuous unfolding of blessings. In the name and the nature of Jesus the Christ. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. And I affirm it is done, it is done, it is done. All righty, Dulcie. I'm not sure who the other person is that just popped in, but we're going to go ahead and sign off now. We're here every Wednesday. I may be shifting to do something in the evening, as a lot of people are going back to work now, um, and aren't able to jump on during the day. Um, so we definitely want to continue to share this energy, this love, this light. My pleasure, Dulcie. Um, Share this energy, this love and light with as many people as are interested, as feel some resonance with it, and beyond that, to share the work with you. Um, what I'm here doing is something that you can do, and you can do it just as well as me. Um, I personally believe that anybody who does the training can do it at least as well as I can. I just know more about it because I've been doing it longer. Um, and I might not even in all cases know more about it. Um, but anybody and everybody can learn to do this as well and access this as well. If you're somebody who would like to, again, just reach out to me at RoyceFThomason, either on Instagram or on Facebook. Send me a direct message, and I think that's what it's called, a direct message. Um, yeah, that sounds right. And if I don't get back to you within a day or two, just reach back out to me. Charge to my head, not my heart. It's just that I somehow overlooked it or whatever. Um, and that will at least put you back up at the top. So um, there's no telling how far I have to scroll down to see new messages, especially on Facebook. Not as much on Instagram, but especially on Facebook. Delcy says powerful and life changing. It's definitely changed my life, that's for sure. Um, and I'm thankful for everybody else whose life has changed in a positive way as a result as well. So infinite love and infinite peace to each and every one of us. Um, we're here every Wednesday offering hope and healing. Today, our focus was kind of on, we did have kind of a theme, um, and that theme was really focused on getting to the root of chaos and restoring community, restoring a genuine, authentic sense of community. And we talked for quite a bit about that earlier, and then kind of focused on the actual healing towards the end. But I'm glad that you're able to experience some relief, Dulcie. Uh, to each and everybody out there who's hearing this, to each and every person who's connected to each and every person who's hearing this, I love you. Infinite blessings to you. Um, yes, blessings and aloha to all beings. Um, I'll look forward to seeing you the next time we come together. All right. Much love and many blessings to you all.